storing dried vegetables that you've made during the summer is a great thing to do in the fall. So today we're going to do a fall fruit compote, and that's simply a mix of dried vegetables that we're going to rehydrate and season with some spices. I've got 2 cups of water, and to that I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of dried apricots. Just leave them whole. You don't have to do any cutting on this at all. And 3/4 of a cup of dried prunes, also known as, or dried plums, dried prunes, whichever you want to call it. 1/2 cup of dried cranberries, and 1/2 cup of dried apples. Now you can use any combination of fruits that you happen to have dried during the summer. If you dried pears or blueberries, any of those will work. At this point we're simply trying to reconstitute. Now, the thing to remember with a lot of recipes when you're rehydrating fruit is they will tell you to add the sugar now. And that's not how we want to do that, because if you add sugar early on, it's going to slow down the speed at which the rehydration occurs and may actually end up with fruit that's tougher. So we're going to save our sugar till we're almost done cooking. But we are going to go ahead and add some spices to this. I've got a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 of a teaspoon of cloves, and these are ground, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And that salt helps just really peak the flavor of it and makes it taste a lot better. So simply stir these in and bring it to a simmer and let it simmer for about probably 15 minutes, maybe as little as 10. In part, the length of time it's going to take is dependent on what fruit you've put in and how they were dried. If you dried them yourself, the probability is that you've dried them a little further than they would have been dried if you had purchased them commercially, particularly something like the dried plums. And so it's going to take less time because they have different methods of drying and they have better packaging techniques than we do. So it's going to take less time for these to rehydrate, because they start maybe with as much as 50% of the original water, as opposed to the 20–25% that we start when we do them ourselves. So it's a little bit dependent. You're just going to have to look at them, taste them, and make some decisions at that point. But again, probably around 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, test your fruit to make sure that it's as tender as you would like it to be, and you're ready to add the sugar. Now the sugar here is for sweetening, but a lot of fruits are sweet enough that you don't need very much, so taste it and see how you like it. We are actually using the sugar for another effect as well. We want the sugar to help us thicken the liquid on this compote. So we're going to add somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'm going to let you obviously make that determination on when it's sweet enough for you. There's going to be a difference in how sweet it tastes when it's hot and when it's cold, and because this is a recipe that can be served either hot, warm, room temperature, or cold, you kind of need to keep that in mind as you're determining how it's going to taste too. When it's hotter, you're going to pick up that sweetness more quickly than when you chill it down. So if you're planning to serve it cold, you may want to go ahead and add a little bit more sugar to it than you would if you were going to let it be using it right when it comes out. You're going to bring this back up to a simmer and let it simmer another 10 minutes, and that's going to allow that to thicken up. But I've got one that's already done here, and there are several ways that this could be served. Here you see the fruit compote itself. This is the one that has the full amount of sugar in it, and you can see that that liquid has thickened up a fair amount. This could be served either as a side dish on its own. You could serve it with pork as a side dish or as a sauce, or you can serve it over angel food cake or a spice cake like I'm doing here today. This is Fall Fruit Compote. I hope you'll give it a try. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.